Welcome to episode 21. This is a great episode, guys.
So good.
We talk about David reviving iPods from the dead. We get into a bunch of nerdy nostalgia, and we find out that Tristan was ultra poor and didn't have DSL, and that was not uncommon.
Yes.
And then we end with Steve Jobs' monologue. Stick around.
Hi, Andrew.
Dig it. Welcome to the Triflix Cast. We are professional videographers and photographers talking about the latest business practices, techniques, and technology with a little bit of fun sprinkled in. I'm Cole. I'm the producer around these parts. To my right is...
I'm Tristan. I just got it out.
What did you what?
Okie dokie. We're moving on.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
He just got it out, guys. To my left...
I'm David, and I am the efficiency man.
Okay. Now that we've lost everyone.
He does wear
Ever
glasses.
seen Zootopia, the sloth?
Yes.
Flash,
Let me tell you a joke.
Let me
do it for you. Speaking of doing things for you, we can do media for you.
Oh my gosh, are we a media company? We're news reporters because we're the media.
Yeah. We should touch on that today. That would be fun.
Yeah.
But anyways, we run a company called Triflix based out of Columbus, Indiana. And yeah, we make media.
Woo!
Welcome to episode 21. We're here. We're happy. And we're relatively engaged and energized. So buckle up.
You know, I'm really tired of how glasses, like, you get the oils from your eyebrows on them.
I don't ever get oils. Well, sorry, I don't wear glasses, but I don't know how you're getting oils from your eyebrows.
You don't get oils from your eyebrows?
Do your eyebrows touch your
mine
glasses?
do, like around the top edge.
Yeah, that just drives me nuts.
But yours is further away. You have like old man glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have like really big, tall ones. You're like thin, weird.
Yours look a little more updated, modern. Tristan be looking like he stole his from his grandma.
I'm pretty sure my dad has the same glasses.
But your dad is older than you. It's okay.
Yeah.
My favorite was my dad switched to frameless.
Like just the glass and on the sides. I'm always scared this will break.
They don't look very good.
Yeah.
They're fancy though. They're very light. I could see.
Steve Jobs did that, right? The circle frame.
I don't know.
I just know we wear a turtleneck.
I just got
turtleneck. Everybody's wearing a turtleneck. Turtleneck. You wear it and it covers up all your neck. Watch out. I'm wearing a turtleneck.
Tristan, your neck
gets
feels
cold.
like it needs to be turtled.
Yeah,
dude, I don't think they make a turtleneck for that thing.
Nah, dude, I'm fully extended.
You have to get the extra turtle.
You go to the gym and you work on your neck extension exercises.
Yeah.
We're not usually this off topic. No way we are.
Well, the way to
for
get
those of you
farther,
who don't tune in usually, please stick around. I beg of you. You help our numbers. Our numbers are suffering. I have no idea. I don't check them. But for those of you who this is your first time listening, we do a news story, and we just pick something funny offline, and I really struggled to find it today. And we just got access to ChatGPT's integration into Bing.
Oh, yeah.
So I told it to scour the World Wide Web, and it just pulled up all the stuff that I had already seen on Google. So it was super helpful.
Huh.
Yeah. So anyways, today's news story, the name is...
it took AI to get Bing to a level that was on par with Google.
Right. They're like, our numbers have never been better. But it's beta, and the only way to get it is through getting the beta channel of Edge. So you have to download another browser to get access to it.
How many browsers do you have now?
I have, I have 4. Safari, Arc, Chrome, and Edge.
No more Brave?
Yeah.
Or was that in there?
You had Brave too. You put that up.
Sorry, Brave instead of Chrome. I got rid of Chrome.
Oh, okay.
I fully went nope.
Yeah. Maybe we could jump back in that
later.
Benefit. I know you got the news story because every episode
we do a news story.
Can we try to put stress without the news story?
I don't know if you guys are new here, but we always do a news story. I want to hear about the news.
It's like the worst newscast ever. He's like,
well, it's snowing out here today, guys. Watch out. Pull up to the window. I'll take a Whopper, no onion.
Over $10.99 per 4 second window.
I need a honey mustard.
And our microphones were ruined ever since
I
this
really
episode.
hope Limiter can salvage that audio.
They will not. They were peaking hard.
Tristan and I, we were talking the other day. I sent him this link. There's actually a microphone from Rode that they just released.
Yeah.
And supposedly it has like the highest bit rate of any.
Lossless, I've heard.
Close. Yeah. I mean,
Peakless.
yeah. So it's like 32-bit, and it's like big for
Oh, okay.
for a
so it's like a USB
microphone.
mic then?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's dual. I'm pretty sure it's USB and XLR. But they said that it essentially because of the bit rate and how much headroom it has, it doesn't peak. It can't peak.
Wow.
I mean, I'm sure it can. You know what I mean?
Never say something can't happen.
But like, I don't think we could make it.
Have to take it out to like a gun range and see.
Well, yeah, that's different. That's different.
It's
okay, it's piking.
It pikes.
Anyways, my news story today is
Let's take a
called
peek at the news story.
Conch Contest.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't like how.
that's exciting.
What do you think
What
it
is
is?
Obviously, it's like a wet t-shirt contest, but with conches.
Explain.
You know, like wet t-shirt contest is like a thing where a bunch of dudes wear white t-shirts and they get water on them. And you try to yeah, but like this time it's with conches, and then like
The conches have T-shirts on.
no, it's still dudes, but they're wearing like conch shells.
Oh,
like from
they're
the beach.
wearing-
Yeah.
A conch though is not a great shell for covering up your bits.
Depends on the shape.
Well, that's why it's a contest, I guess.
To see how well
Yeah,
the
no,
conch covers up.
the conch shells are like the coily ones, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you
So would it be
you
a-
put a crab in there, and then they hook on, and then you gotta you gotta get them wet to see who.
Put you a crotch conch.
Oh.
Conch crotch.
I don't-
Conch crotch. Yeah, anyways. I
feel
like it.
it's just called
I
crabs.
like it.
What do you think, David?
David, we want to hear what you think.
I think it's the Magic Conch Shell contest
Yeah.
from SpongeBob.
Okay.
And it's a competition who can make them the best, like pull the string and it tells you what to do. What's the best one? You know what?
There's a snake in my boat.
Yes. Like Woody the doll, but it's a conch shell.
I gotcha. Well, you're both wrong.
Oh, how could
Who
this
was closer?
be?
I know. You guys are usually so good at this. It's actually a conch shell blowing contest
Oh.
in Key West.
Okay.
It's actually Key West annual conch shell blowing contest.
Yeah.
A Canadian woman and a pediatric cardiologist from Georgia won the men's and women's contest.
They were both from Georgia?
I don't know. Canadian woman and a cardiologist from Georgia. Yeah, Georgia, Canada.
I thought she was just a Canadian that lived in Georgia.
No, Georgia, the country?
No. Oh, wait. Georgia is a country. I assume the state. I assume they're both. She just happened to be Canadian and lived there.
Yeah. We're so well educated here.
No joke. Oh, wow. The one dude played a Jimmy Buffett song.
On a conch?
Yeah.
Jimmy Buffet.
He said that a conch shell with holes so it can be played like a flute.
Oh.
That's cool.
That's pretty cool. And then the Canadian chick, she blew a long, loud blast with her shell to best other competitors.
This sounds like it's
It's
written
like
by
a war
AI.
horn.
I'll be honest with you. I tried to write a couple with AI, and AI is just way too lame. Like, it's just like write a news
kinda
story,
boring.
and it's like I was like, write a news story about how 3 podcast hosts, get stuck in a hilarious situation, and it was like 3 podcast hosts get stuck in a room and they jiggle the handle, and it's funny because it doesn't open, and they're stuck in there and they tell each other jokes to pass the time, and then they
That's
realize
funny.
they're all friends, and I was like, wow, that's lame.
I like that story.
Could never be friends with
That's,
these
how,
guys.
that's why we're here, is because the
We're-
door's locked. We can't get out. So we're
We're
like,
on
let's just
the
record.
search for the news story to help us realize that we're all friends.
Yay.
But wasn't the
So
true meaning the
wholesome.
podcast we made along the way?
Oh my gosh. But anyways, yeah, that's what it was. I thought it was interesting that was something that existed. That's how bored people get. They're like, I've been practicing for 10 years to blow this conch.
You think it's boredom? I feel like you do it with your kids. If there was a beach nearby and a bunch of conches, you want to go blow some conch?
Dude, that sounds horrible. Like, why? You said it so aggressively. Why were you so aggressive with it?
I don't know. It's what you do. You go to the contest, you just blow some conch.
Now that you're editing the clips, I feel like you're intentionally saying things that you're going to let get out.
I do take notes.
I do. I know we talked about last week. We talked about how we got the new editor. His name is Nathan.
Hey, Nathan.
He's still learning how to edit at the moment. Like, he's not learning.
Job.
He's training with our processes and everything. He's doing a good job.
7.5 days in.
So that's what you guys will notice, that we're not putting out clips for the podcast as regularly as usual, but we did make sure we made the verticals that say, like it's coming soon and that it's live.
Yes.
And no offense, Daniel, if you're listening, I really like the one that Tristan made because it's just so us. It made me want to watch it because it was just, I mean, not
what they're going to talk about.
Not that the other ones don't, but it was just the fact that, like, I don't know. Yeah. It was so scatterbrained, but it was so funny because it was just like it was all over the map. But it was put so it was made really so humorous.
The clip that Tristan that you pulled when I was like explaining stop motion. I was like,
well, that's what you were doing.
yeah. I forgot, and I was like, why was I doing that? I was like, oh, that's why.
The best way done. If you ever need to make a video like that, the best thing to do is just start clicking through the video while it's playing random sections. Yeah, and it just sounds really funny. And I've learned this because whenever David edits without his headphones on in the office for a pastor for a sermon, it makes for a very controversial sermon whenever you start jumping around on what he's talking about. So I was like, that's hilarious.
Yeah,
we could do that with the podcast.
It's like the new version of like the old, like cutting the letters out of a newspaper, or like the words and like making your own sentence. Like we're just like taking the pieces out.
Right. And either you organize them, make it say something new.
I do kind of like that. That would be really funny to just go back. And I think we tried to do this. Mm-hmm. We did it with one of them and it worked out pretty well, but it'd be fun to do like all the promotional stuff. It's like the different words in the podcast because we used the transcription stuff to find them last time.
I'd have to look. I don't remember the guy's name. Maybe I'll try to find it later. But there's a guy that does this with Jordan Peterson. His old lectures, because he used to be a professor and he would talk for an hour and then you'd find these like really random clips because he talks on sociology and psychology, and it's like, it's humans. They do weird stuff. You talk about the weird stuff they do, and you can make these crazy stories where it's like he's in the middle of giving helpful advice. And it's like, if you guys want to live a better life, you need to really focus on, and then you interject with him talking about how in the 20th century or in the 12th century, people would attack other villages and rape and pillage. And it's like, so if you want a better life, you need to, and then insert whatever the horrible thing is.
Yeah.
It's just,
they makes start killing each other. It's crazy.
Well, that was kind of like how they would take the political figures and then have them sing songs.
Oh, yeah.
And they would just pick the words out of all of their, like, talking points and then pitch them and make it work.
Yeah.
Back when we did the deep fake for Cole's face on Tristan, and we also did the voice AI. I wonder if we just took you, Cole, taking things and like rearrange it, like just the chopped up portions, and then fed that to the AI that already knows that's trained on your voice, if it'll just make it sound like you just said them naturally.
Make it more regular.
Yeah. I almost
wonder if Adobe Speech Enhance would do it.
Oh.
If you rearranged it and then threw it in, if it would equalize everything out to make it sound right.
Oh, yeah.
That would be really cool to try.
By the way, guy's name is Very Tall Bart, and it's a profile picture of Bart Simpson is the one that does all the Jordan Peterson.
Very tall Bart.
Yeah. He also does like Neil deGrasse Tyson and like all the meme dudes, Ben Shapiro and Elon Musk.
People that talk for a living.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't do that.
Nope. No, we make nothing from this.
We're not living.
Other than acquaintances.
Friends.
Okay.
Friends or family.
One of the, I guess at the top of the list, because this was something that we want to talk about last episode, but it got carried over. David has gotten into reviving old iPods.
Right.
which is really funny.
Right to repair. Go, David.
Right to repair. Yeah, that's a big thing.
My favorite thing is that you bought an old iPod and then have worked on it.
Yes.
That's my favorite part of the whole story.
So, to explain, the iPod I bought was this one, if you can see it on the video portion. It is a iPod Classic 4th generation, so it's the 4th version of the iPod Classic.
For those of you listening, look it up!
Look it up! On the back of it, it says the Apple logo, iPod, and then HP, the computer company.
Hewlett-Packard.
And that's an official thing. It's because when Apple made this version of the iPod, beforehand, it was really confusing whether or not your iPod would work with a Microsoft computer, like work on Windows.
Yeah.
And so they did like a little partner deal with Hewlett-Packard, HP, and they got their logo slapped on it so people would know it works with their Windows computer and not just like a MacBook.
You think they would have reached out to Windows and got the Windows logo?
Well, did you know that Steve Jobs, I believe this was the case. I just watched a video about this the other day. I think he tried to work, or he worked for a very short period of time at HP. And so he had connections there.
That makes sense.
That's also part of why they are where they are now with the new Apple campus, because that ground used to be for Hewlett-Packard's campus. So like when they were getting ready to like shift everything and, kind of move some stuff around and downsize, Steve Jobs had an in with some of the owners because he had worked there in the past.
I used to like HP when I was growing up because they made rather okay computers, but now it's kind of meh. And I like their design language as well. I thought it was always kind of similar to Apple, so that makes sense that Steve Jobs kind of liked him a bit.
I thought that was cool. I had no idea there was that connection, because it was this whole video. You guys got to look it up, and they were explaining how the new Apple Park got built and why and how they went about all that.
Yeah, knowing people and knowing connections in those businesses make a lot of sense. And even though Steve Jobs was like notorious for being hard to work with, maybe I think he's just a very particular man and just wanted what he wanted, and he didn't give a crap if you didn't like it.
Yeah, you know how that is.
So what did you want, David?
What did I want? I wanted an iPod that I could work on, because I liked iPods growing up. I really liked Apple. I thought they were really cool. I liked their design language. If you hear that ticking, that is the iPod scroll wheel.
For all you millennials.
All you millennials know what I'm talking about.
You know exactly.
Yeah, for those Zoomers, though.
Did you have an iPod, Tristan?
No iPod?
He had a Zune.
Did you have
I didn't have anything.
player?
You didn't have anything?
No, I didn't have
How do you listen to music?
CD player.
Oh, okay. So you just didn't get upgraded.
No, I just went straight to phone.
Straight to phone.
Really?
Yeah. My first phone was in middle school. So before that was CDs.
Do you remember the Motorola Rocker?
Yes.
It was like the first phone and iPod.
It's so familiar. I'd have to look it up.
Look it up. I had a friend who had one, and I thought it was so cool. I was like,
if I saw it,
you
I
mean
would
your
know.
phone can also store your music?
Oh,
What?
How long ago was that?
That was a while ago.
Rocker.
I know I was in high school, I think.
ROKR.
Yes.
Oh, I remember seeing these.
Yeah, that was a big brand deal.
Yeah. Oh, that was the first iPhone.
Correct.
Because it had the built-in like iPod looking interface, and I watched the Apple presentation for it. Have you seen this?
I haven't watched it since it first came out. So
Steve Jobs, it was the same presentation before he announced the iPod Nano, I believe.
Okay.
And it really pissed off Motorola because it got so much more attention than the Rocker. But during the presentation for the Rocker, Steve Jobs was like demoing it, as I'm using it, I'm using my phone, and I'm going to go start playing some music. And he plays the music. He's like, that's awesome. It's like, now I'm going to go back out, go to the home screen, and then the music stops playing. And he just looks pissed. And he was like, well, it's supposed to keep playing. And then then he just says two other talking points, and he just puts it away, and he just goes into the Nano.
Dang.
And what's even funnier is when he demos the real iPhone 2 years later, 3 years maybe, he does that same demo. It's like, look, I go on my phone, I'm listening to music, I get a phone call, music stops, take the phone call. As soon as the phone call ends, boom, he says the music starts playing again, and everybody just starts clapping like crazy. And he's just so proud of it. It's like he just loved his products, and he wanted it to do what he wanted it to do. Doesn't justify his being a jerk bag all the time, but
no, but I mean, it makes sense. You know what I mean? He was like, he had the idea, right? He's just like, if I put together the right people, and just push everybody, then we'll get there.
My wife and I are watching. She's watching. I'm overhearing next to me. This parental show. I don't remember the name of it, but it's a competition with parents with a bunch of different kids, age ranging from like 6 to 16, and all of these parents have like a titled or descriptive parenting style. So like the achiever, the competition, or the like conservative religious, the what they call feral kids, which is like the kids are just like running around doing their own thing, being independent. And all these different parenting styles, and it's just really funny because there's useful competitions of like, how well do your kids respect you, and like if they climb a wall, will they stop halfway or will they push through? And like a lot of really interesting ways to kind of showcase some life skills, and putting all these kids like pinned up each other. And it's like, all right, Steve Jobs had a very particular like leadership style, and these are essentially his children of like, all right, I need you to climb the wall or build the iPod. And it's like his method got him there. But watching this show is really interesting because it's like, some people get the kid to do the thing, but they still get voted off because people are like, yeah, you can't do this. Like, that's not like long-term effects. Like, cause the judges are all psychologist based. So it's like the long-term effects of this can't be good.
Right. Yeah.
So it's very interesting to see how a lot of people's parental styles are actually kind of bleed into their work styles.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, that's hard sometimes to, separate.
His mindset is very particular too, because it's similar to other people's, but like their goals are completely different. It's like, like if it's the way that he was acting, but you just put someone who just wants money, you're just going to get really kind of crappy products.
Right. Yeah.
He wanted products like that he wanted to use. Like, he didn't want to be annoyed when using the product. Yeah. And like,
smart.
Well, that's your philosophy with notifications. You're like, this notification's dumb, I don't want it on my phone. And then you'll go in and you'll turn off notifications for that app. Yeah. It's like, most people just like, whatever, I'll deal with it. And then, I mean, I keep dismissing the same one. I will not sign in to my Windows login on my phone for Outlook. I
won't do it.
It just keeps asking me for Outlook login. I'm like, I'll get to it if I need it. Why do you keep telling me this?
Goodness. Anyway, iPods.
Yeah, I was gonna say, circle back to David's preferences here. So you had this idea, right? Yes. It just came out of nowhere, and you're like, I want an iPod. So walk me through, like, if I wanted to go through this and get my own iPod and go through the whole thing, like, walk me through what you did.
So I actually discovered a YouTube channel called Dank Pods, and he's an Australian dude. He was like a professional musician, and he needed money, and he discovered that he could repair old broken iPods. He could like buy them in lots of like 20 or 30, and from those he could piecemeal together like 5 or 10 working iPods and then sell them and make his money back. And so he made a YouTube channel. One of his friends was like, hey, like, you're good at this, make like a couple videos. And like the first 2 videos he made just blew up.
That's awesome.
And so I discovered him, and he's just been making videos ever since about like crappy MP3 players and just talking about them. He's really enjoyable. And he likes to show off these ones a lot because they're the easiest to repair. I've always been big in taking apart electronics and like fixing things and understanding how they work.
So the 4th gen is the easiest.
Yeah, the 4th gen relatively is the easiest. Like the older ones are basically the easiest to repair. And I say this one's easiest because there's also a lot of parts available.
Okay,
gotcha. The older ones may not have as many parts or whatever, but this one was solid. There's like a lot of support for it, a lot of community effort behind it. Like a lot of replacement parts or brand new custom ones. Like people are making cool like metal backs of like different colors or like chromatic looking color changing ones, new fronts and backs. And so I chose this one because I never had one, and I believe a kid at my elementary school had an iPod like this, and I thought it was so cool.
Did you have an iPod back in the day?
I didn't get one until like the 4th gen Nano.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
But I was wanting.
Was it the little thin boy?
It's a little thin guy. He has like the vertical screen. It's the same size as this one, but up and down.
Could you even use them without internet? To get music?
They don't have Wi-Fi. You have to plug it into your computer and sync.
That's why
you would have to sync
I
later
couldn't
on.
have even had that. Makes sense. So if you didn't have internet, you couldn't have an iPod at the time.
And you could like rip CDs. Like if you had CDs, you could rip it with iTunes and put it on your iPod.
Yeah, I mean, we went through like the whole library and just ripped everything.
Steve thought about it. He was like, I want to put my CDs in my pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, because it was a big deal. So the generation that David bought is the same generation that I had first.
Yeah.
That's my first iPod.
And this one is a 20 gigabyte model. I forget how many songs that could originally store. I don't know how many songs per gigabyte. Cole could maybe look that up.
Yeah, I'm going to pull it up while you're telling.
I bought this one on eBay. It was for like $40, and the listing said bad hard drive and bad battery, or so that they thought. And so I got it, and I ordered a new hard drive, or I didn't buy a hard drive. I bought an adapter for an SD card so I could put a flash card in here. And 5,000 songs.
5,000 songs, and they had a 20 gig and a 40 gig model, and so it was 5,000 or 10,000.
And I currently have
That's crazy.
70, no, 110 songs on this right now.
Introduction date was July 19th, 2004.
2000.
Wow. I didn't even know Apple was alive then.
It was discontinued a year later.
Apple started coming back after like 1998 or something.
Processor speed was 80 megahertz.
Yeah.
I guess I just always associate Apple with like the iPhone being their like
You're
thing.
older than me, man.
I didn't have the internet. I didn't know about anything in technology. Like there was nothing outside of my house growing up, and like I guess
Really?
Yeah. Our school,
What did you do for fun?
Played outside.
Huh.
I didn't really do anything tech related. I had
You
a
didn't watch
PlayStation.
TV or anything?
We didn't have. My mom got rid of cable TV growing up.
Oh,
I had it for a
wow.
little bit.
We had cable TV. We had Dish.
We had it for a while, and then she switched over to the Angel TV stuff.
Angel TV.
But
Nice.
yeah, no, it was a lot of playing outside, and had a PlayStation 2. I want to say played a lot of that, but yeah, I think the internet was just like it's such like a fundamental thing that everyone has now. So it's like really weird to think back, and it's like how do you get information about Apple being a company and stuff? I've never really thought about it.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's just weird to think about, dude.
It's like the first thing I ever saw
We
from
had DSL by that point.
DSL, oh my gosh.
The first Apple thing I ever saw
Better than
was the Nano.
dial-up.
I remember dial-up. It sucked so much.
Yeah, but the jump from dial-up to DSL was huge. Like,
Yeah.
I remember my dad's like, we got DSL, and he's like, it's faster internet, and we were like, okay.
It still used phone line, right?
Yes.
Because I remember trying to play Call of Duty, and it would still mess up the internet whenever we get a phone call.
For sure.
Wow.
For sure. It all depended upon your setup. Yes. It for sure did that.
Because we had the weird adapter that you'd plug into the phone jack, and one would go to the phone, and one would go to the box.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I think it had more pins.
Yeah, I don't know how they did it.
But it was blazing fast compared to dial-up, right? Because you didn't have to go through any of the stuff.
I remember waiting for web pages to load. Like I'd go to a website for
what you did.
We'd play PS2 games like Ratchet and Clank, or other things, and I'd go to this website called GameWinners.com.
Yes.
Yeah, and we'd look up like cheat codes.
Yes, it's where they had all the cheats.
Yes, and I remember waiting for that page to load so slowly, and then we'd print off the page.
And you were so pumped. And yes, you did. You'd have stacks of that paper because it was all the codes.
Yes.
Dang, dude. Blast from the past.
I forget about that.
GameWinners.com.
Yeah. I don't know if it's still around.
We had to go buy the books. We bought the books with all the cheat codes in them from the store.
Yeah.
And then everybody would write them down and we'd share them.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, those people who bought the books, they'd put all that stuff on Game Winners for us.
That's nice
couldn't
of
afford
them.
it.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I kind of feel bad now.
Had no idea.
I just mean because like
I didn't know
because
like, about the internet.
I just thought that this was like a general thing that like every kid had, and I see that's not the case.
I remember like
I've been a little privileged over here, Cole.
But world books, encyclopedias, like having to do a book report.
Yeah.
From encyclopedias. I remember having to do that.
Yeah, we had to do that too. I don't think our school even had internet, I'm pretty sure. I don't think they did. If they did, it was like later on.
Yeah. The only time, at least in elementary school, because I lived in that time, and I think our schools here were kind of slow on adopting the new stuff. I remember like going to computer labs to take typing classes. You learn to type.
Type to
and
learn.
That was like
was the name of it.
I don't know if that's what
ours was called Type to Learn.
I don't know.
And now a quick break to hear from our sponsors. Coffee House 5. With locations in Franklin and Greenwood and soon a third in Bargersville, Coffee House 5 is Johnson County's premier independent coffee shop to relax, study, or meet friends around great coffee and great food Monday through Saturday. Whether it's a handcrafted espresso or a single origin pour-over, you'll enjoy the freshest, smoothest coffee possible roasted in-house at their Franklin location using a unique airbed roasting process. And don't forget to pair your coffee with a ham and cheddar scone, biscuits and gravy made with their award-winning Parmesan chive biscuit, or any of their other pastries and sandwiches prepared in their Franklin kitchen using family recipes in a style they call Midwest comfort food. As if that's not enough to get your attention, Coffee House 5 is a for-benefit coffee house. All profits are invested in building a stronger community through their support of local mental health services, which you can read more about on their website, coffeehouse5.com. So next time you're in Franklin or Greenwood and soon Bargersville, stop by Coffee House 5.
Ours was called Type to Learn.
I don't know what we had. But yeah, that was like the most we ever used computers at school was just learning how to type. I struggled so much.
We would go to the public library to play RuneScape, and every time I didn't know how logins worked, so every time I made a new account, so I'd never continued. Like I didn't understand like how logins worked. I thought you just made them, and emails, like you made an email and then that I didn't think about saving the password and stuff. So you just pick a new one every time.
Huh?
I have a rant about my old email. Yahoo, you've fallen.
Yahoo,
how far you fallen.
A lot of people had Yahoo. I never understood that. I didn't.
So I
had a Gmail. I was like real early on the Gmail game.
Gmail, man.
Oh, dude, I was like,
I was Yahoo.
As soon as I could, Gmail from the get-go. I couldn't even tell you how long. I've had my Gmail account double-digit years for sure.
Dang.
I
can't access my Yahoo account. They want me to pay $20 to unlock my Yahoo account because I don't know my password. And whenever I call them up to reset my password, I get some outsourced, I think Indian support company. Nothing against that.
Yeah, wow.
But I get these people and they're like, what are you calling for? It's like, my Yahoo account. Like, you're the Yahoo people. It's like, okay.
Yahoo?
So I think you've called about this before. I did, maybe. Because I remember I forgot I did, and I got mad. And I was like, that's stupid. Why would I pay you $20 to unlock my account? And I just hung up and I just forgot it. Yep. And then a year later, I called them again. I was like, oh, why didn't I do this? And they want you to pay to remember your password.
Dude, that's horrible.
What the heck?
Weird.
Yeah. So iPods.
Yeah, so iPods. So I was able to pull up, this is a really cool website. It has all the specs.
Yeah.
The display resolution. What do you think it is?
We count them. I bet it's 240 by 100 or something.
Really? I mean, you're close. It's 160 by 128.
Oh, dang.
It's a 2-inch diagonal display.
2-inch.
I still think it's crazy. It was. Oh, so this was the other thing I thought was really nuts, you guys, is do you remember what the original pricing was?
$399.
That was for the 40 gig model.
40 gig model was $299. $399. Yeah, the other one's $299. Yeah,
$300, which
inflation wise is $700 or something stupid.
But it's $475 today.
That's not accurate. There's no way.
Scaled up.
There's no way.
Music stuff has always been expensive.
No, I'm just saying the inflation rate of the dollar.
It says...
yeah, I bet. That's over 20 years ago.
The dollar had an average inflation rate of 2.45% per year between 2004 and today, producing a cumulative price increase of 58%.
Dang.
I feel like milk, eggs, and gas have doubled since then, but fair enough.
Correct mundo.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, still, I can remember thinking as a kid that it was like a lot of money. Like I was like, wow, because like we had to beg for it, and it was like that's your Christmas and your birthday combined.
Yeah, there was no way I was getting that for Christmas.
Yeah, and I think we even had to chip in some money too. I think it was one of those things where it was like
the Xbox was our family gift for Christmas. Like that was everybody's gift.
Yeah. Well.
Like that was the gift.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, never mind.
Because it played DVDs and for like family, and then like it played video games for the kids.
I remember pleading with my parents, like, hey, like I want an iPod, and I think the iPod Touch is really cool, and I didn't have an iPod. I was like, what if we just got it for the whole family? It could be like a whole family thing. It's not even my iPod. I'd be willing to share it.
What a generous boy.
Dang, I would have never proposed that.
Your sister would have stuck it in the grate with the popsicle sticks.
Dude, I do remember my brother had an iPod Touch, and he jailbroke it.
Yeah.
And that was so cool. You could do so much with
I jailbroke my iPhone 4S, which I didn't bring. And it was kind of slow and janky.
A lot of that stuff
really
was.
Help.
It was like I was obviously an Android fanboy forever, and I would put Cyanogen and mod on everything, and sometimes it would break everything, and sometimes it would run okay.
So let me wrap up on this iPod because I have a story about Cyanogen mod. So I upgraded it. I actually found out that it wasn't the battery or the hard drive that was bad. It was the motherboard. You plug it in, wouldn't charge right. Something with its brains was bad. So I got a new battery and that SD card, and it still didn't work. So I had to buy. So it has like whole new internals now. I bought new brains for it, and it works. And so now I have 120 gigs in it from the flash card and a new battery, and she's rocking and rolling. She's a happy little iPod.
So what did you, out of curiosity, what did you have to spend to get to buy the iPod, and then what did you spend in parts?
So the iPod was about $40, and then all the other parts were around 10 to 15. So 10 to 15 for the battery, 10 to 15 for the SD card adapter. I already had an SD card lying around, so I saved money on that.
Right, just threw one in.
And then what was it? The motherboard was $20.
Which 120 gig SD card, is it a normal size SD? Not micro?
It's a big one.
Yeah, so I mean that would be pretty cheap to get in general anyways.
Yeah. And so that's $40 plus, I don't know, I paid $80 for a hobby to revive something, and
that's
plays
not bad.
Music, and I'm not done with it yet.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what you're going to do.
My plans are, so another thing about this generation, the bigger capacity iPods, this one's a 20, so this is actually physically and storage-wise, the smallest of this generation. But if you get the 60 or 40 gigabyte model, the back stainless steel chamber thing is actually thicker.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And so I ordered a brand new back part of the chassis. And since it's thicker, there's more room because the hard drive inside was bigger for those models.
Gotcha, okay.
And because of that, I'm going to have more room to do what I want to do with it. My plan is, now that I have this larger back chassis, I'm going to put in a Bluetooth module that I have. I already have the circuit board, and I've tested it. It used to be a
that's cool.
A Bluetooth transmitter that I had in my car. Because I had a Chevy Cobalt that didn't have any smart interface or whatever on it. Didn't have Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, and didn't have Bluetooth built in. And so I took that and I stripped down the circuit board, made it as thin as possible because I soldered off a couple switches and stuff, and I just hardwired them all. And it's thin enough to fit inside this, and I'm going to figure out to get a little button that goes on the side. And the battery that the iPod runs on is the same voltage as what that thing used to run on, the Bluetooth. So I can just hook it into the battery of the iPod, and I'm rocking and rolling with Bluetooth.
Get you a wireless iPod.
And I also bought a USB-C board.
Oh, so nice.
With that extra space, I'm going to be able to carve out a hole right next to the original 30-pin plug-in, because this has a really wide 30-pin plug-in because we didn't have USB-C or micro. I mean, I think we had mini USB ports.
Yeah, I was gonna say by that point it was probably mini.
Yeah, but
which was not so many.
They thought smaller was better, and they just kept going down, and
yeah,
they realized then they all break. And
dude, those never lasted.
Pin or whatever, there's just like indestructible.
The micros were the worst. It's like you buy a new phone and you plug it in, and like a week later, that thing would just be able to like 90-degree bend.
Oh my! Yeah,
they were the worst.
They were really bad.
They were so bad.
So sometimes bigger, better.
Yep, it's worth it. And so
interesting.
I found that I got these little circuit board that has the USB-C port on it, and it also is just thin enough to go inside the back chassis that's slightly bigger than this one. And so I'm going to wire it up also. I've already looked at the pinouts to solder to, and I'm going to have a USB-C iPod, and it's going to have Bluetooth, and I don't think anybody's done it yet. So
yeah, you should video that.
We might make a video. I might buy a second one and make like a step-by-step what I did.
That'd be really cool.
Dude, see if we get sponsored by iFixit.
That'd be tight.
It'd be fun.
I feel like you should take an Apple Watch and you just like embed that in as like the screen. That'd be tight.
You just put that on a wristband.
I thought about it because iPods used to come with wrist or armbands.
Yeah, and up on your bicep.
The iPhone and the Apple Watch has filled the gap of what the iPod used to do. Yep. Especially like what the iPod Shuffle was. I mean, this is basically just an iPod.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think it's got 4 gig or something in it that you can like locally store music, so that you don't have to take your phone with you. You just pair your AirPods to your watch.
You got your wireless AirPods, so you don't even need to have a little dangly cable.
That'd be the cool thing, and I don't know if you can make it happen, but it'd be really cool if you were able to get a module that would work in the iPod that would allow for some of that connectivity. You know what I mean? How there's some of the proprietary stuff that's happening between AirPods and Apple
like
products.
The W chip or whatever it is. H chip. I don't know what they call it.
I don't know, because there's the chip for Bluetooth, and there's also the one that goes in the AirPods. Mm-hmm. But that would be cool.
That would be really interesting. I don't know.
I know that'd be a lot.
That would be real cool to do. I wish I might take apart like an AirTag and try to chop it down and fit it inside too, so then I can use a Find My iPod.
Dude.
That would be... I don't know what electronics are inside those AirTags.
The funny thing is...
Yeah.
Is at the end of the day...
It's just an iPod.
It's an iPhone. At that point...
That's what I was thinking.
At this point...
You built the iPhone.
I'm just retrofitting it. Yeah.
Yes. It's like, hold on. Like, you know that this was the same...
It already exists, right?
This was the same conversation.
Yours has USB-C.
Yeah.
This is the same conversation that they had in the engineering facility, right? And Steve Jobs is like, I'm tired of CDs and I don't want to use the stupid little MP3 players. It's dumb and I want to make money. Yep. And they're like, well, we could do this, and this, and then eventually, right? They have all these things, and they're like, well, we have an iPod, and then, but what if it was with a phone?
And then like
Bluetooth, and they're like, we could add all these things in, and
we could charge everyone that makes
why
apps
are we making
30%?
3 different things that would work well as one?
Right.
And that's how they sold it at the presentation.
Yeah, remember?
Yeah.
An internet
it's an
communicator.
iPod. It's a phone. It's a internet communicator. Are you getting it, folks?
It's the iPhone.
And we also have Cole's iPod. His 5th. This is the one that came afterwards, I think.
What's the I for?
Is
I
intelligent?
I think it means like you.
That's rich.
I, you, me.
Because they
the me phone.
I think it means like you.
Yeah. Do you want
cloud storage? Because there used to be iLife.
You need to pay $5 for cloud storage.
Cloud storage.
Oh wow. Okay. So there's the iPod 5th gen with video. That's what it is. Good job.
Yep.
So let's see here, dude. Look at that song capacity, because I remember it was all about song capacity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a huge selling point. How many songs you can cram in that thing?
They had the 30 and the 60 gig. This was the one that this came out in 2005. Yeah, so this was the next gen after, obviously. So the 30 gig held 7,500 songs, and the 60 gig held 15,000.
My iPod Nano that I got. It was 8 gigs.
Dang.
Yeah.
And the funny thing was, you can tell because this one had the video screen and it had a photo capacity. So they were like, you could fit 25,000 photos in there.
It's crazy. You could have photos in your pocket. What?
Dude, I had a 2.5-inch screen. So the screen's a half an inch bigger, and it was a QVGA 320 by 240.
Yep. It's crazy how quickly technology has like ramped up since then.
I know, right?
Because that was like the biggest, coolest thing when I was growing up. I was watching Steve Jobs present like the friggin' iPod and think it was nuts.
Watched every one of them, man.
Yeah. On YouTube and at the crappy resolution at 240p.
I was just watching
He's
memes.
like, I read in a book.
I was just watching meme videos by then.
So you did get internet.
In maybe middle school, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
Dang,
middle
that's
school,
really
because I had to be
cool.
able to do my homework.
Yeah.
I would have had to by then.
So it was, oh yeah, so there's the original. So did they still sell the old OGs?
So you mentioned cyanogen mod. I got into that when I was in high school.
It's like a Theo Vaughn podcast talking about when they started doing drugs recreationally. He's like, yeah, back in high school, I really got into cyanogen mod.
It is kind of like a drug.
Yeah, just can't stop modding.
I really wanted tablets because tablets when in 2013, 2014, might have been 2012. Around that time, they were getting a lot of traction because the iPod came out and everybody wanted iPod. The iPad came out. And everybody wanted to make their own version of the iPad.
Yeah.
And my parents got me a Kindle Fire.
Ooh.
And I hated the operating system on that thing.
It's
with
like
a
a
passion.
slap in the face.
Yeah.
We have iPad
Thanks,
at home,
Mom and Dad.
I didn't hate the gift. I just didn't like the operating system was on it. It's like, I know this is an Android tablet. It could be good. It just has the stupid Amazon OS or whatever on it.
Yep, I would. There were a couple times that I got my hands on those, and I was less hardware intensive, but did a lot of software modding back in the day. And I would go in, and you had to be able to install like Google Play services.
Yeah,
and then you could get all of the actual Android apps. Yes. But they were still so slow. It's really hard.
Yeah. So I went about my way to get cyanogen mod on that thing. And I followed the tutorial for Kindle Fire, and I was downloading all this stuff on my little crappy laptop I had. And as I was going through it, I hit like the flash ROM button, and then the Kindle wouldn't turn on.
Bricked her.
I bricked it. Which
Remember
means
it was ABD, right? ABD was the
Android debug bus.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how you shoved all the software to the Android device.
And what happened was I had the Amazon Fire HD, not the Amazon Fire. And so I gave it completely wrong operating system. It had no idea what to do because it didn't have all the right bits and bobs on the inside. And so it just wouldn't turn on because it wasn't able to do what it wanted to do to turn on.
Dude, that sucks.
And I told Amazon it just stopped working. And this was like day 2 after owning it.
Oh my gosh.
And so I was like, hey, Amazon, it just won't turn on anymore. And
sounds like a Tristan thing.
I was like 14 and I just ruined my Christmas present. And so I was like,
panicking.
Mom. I told Mom, Dad, I'm pretty sure I went and like hid in my closet. I was like, no, because like I just wasted this present. And so I was like, I just go tell Amazon that
just because I wanted to mod it.
And they just sent me one right away.
Oh my gosh.
And then I flashed that one.
No.
And it worked.
Screw it, I'm flashing it.
Yep. And I got normal Android on it, and it was the best thing ever.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Dude, I was terrified of tech as a kid. I didn't touch any of this stuff. Like, I was afraid of bricking things. Like, I didn't understand how computers worked at all.
That's how you learn, man. You got to brick stuff.
It is true, though. There were plenty of times that I would go to flash a ROM and just like, you cross your fingers and then like it just doesn't work, and you just keep flashing it and hoping that you can make it happen.
Yeah.
Huh.
You know,
Didn't even know
sometimes you
any
just
of this
got to
stuff.
delete like 20 terabytes of stuff
to learn.
Sometimes
you just got to break some eggs.
I don't think there was a single device back in the day that I didn't like. It was always like I'd use it for about a month or two, and then I'd be like, okay, I need to flash it.
How do I make this do something?
Yeah, I got it set up and then never changed anything.
Because I would overclock them.
What?
The phone, yeah.
No
I would
way.
go in and because you had control over everything, and I would overclock them, and they get real hot.
I bet they got hot normally. Those things were so stinking bad.
It's okay. You just got to pop the battery out, put the battery back. Nah. Dude, I didn't mess around.
Cooking the battery.
Dude, I love to because like back in the day, like HTC had the best interface. Yes. I felt like it was.
I always wanted an HTC, and by the time I could afford one, they went down the tank.
Yeah, they were the best.
Yeah.
They were the best. Do you remember? It was called like the HD or something. Like it was like HTC HD, and they had like an HD2, and whichever one was the last model they made, it was a Windows phone.
Oh.
And they just like kept flashing like all these different like ROMs to it, and eventually, because it was like their flagship, right? Mm-hmm. It had like monster specs, was super expensive. Like I never had one. I wanted one. It's like the holy grail of HTCs.
The only HTC device that I had was the Nexus 5, because they made the tablet collab with Google, because it's supposed to be like a developer oriented thing.
I had a 7,
and and I just found the box recently at my parents' house. I put it in like a coffee chair for some reason, coffee stool. Like you could take the seat off and there's like a compartment inside, and I found my box for it. I was like, what?
But you don't have the device?
I still have the device.
Dude, that would be cool.
It barely works. It's so sad, because I put like the latest developer preview thing on it, and it just you can't do anything on it.
Dang, dude.
And
that's funny.
They were also notorious for like overheating and like cooking themselves, and I think it's cooked.
I gotcha.
It just runs so slow.
The 7s lasted forever. Like people were using the 7s for decades.
I'll try to charge it.
Yeah, you should bring it in. I'd love to see it, because I have a whole list of phones that I ever had. I had a Droid Aeris. Had an incredible. I had a bunch of HTCs, as many as I could get. Yeah. Dude, it was so cool because the back popped off and everything underneath of it was red.
Yeah.
And it had an optical trackpad on the front, and you could swipe through the interface with your thumb, and it was just this optical button at the bottom. It was so cool. That was one of my favorite phones.
Tristan, did you have a smartphone growing up as a kid?
Yeah. What was your first smartphone?
Droid Razor, I think, in high school.
That's not a smartphone.
That's not a smartphone.
Yeah, it is. The Droid Razor Max.
Oh, okay. The Max. Because the original Razor is like the
flippy.
They had the Droid Razor was just the lineup.
The Droid Razor Max. What did it run?
No, so like Droid Razor's like just like the actual.
Oh, Droid Razor. I didn't know that there was a.
Yeah, that's just like the branding name. So like the original Droid, I think Motorola Razor is probably what you're thinking of. But Droid Razor was the brand name. So they had like a lineup, and they just kept releasing. They kept releasing more iterations of it. So I had the Droid Razor, I think, and then the Droid Razor Max after that.
Oh, my dad had that phone.
It was amazing. That battery would last like seven days.
This guy?
Yeah.
Nice.
I love that phone so much.
You're good, David.
Yeah, my dad. That's the exact phone my dad had.
GSM Arena. That's cool. It's like carbon fiber on the back of it.
It was such a nice phone.
You remember all those commercials? Droid. And that was like the thing. It drove me nuts because my grandma was like, I bought a Droid, and I was like, it's an Android phone.
That also bugged me. Is like, why do they call it just a Droid?
Made me so mad. So mad.
Droid. Are they still around? They still make Droids?
Not that I'm aware of.
It's a missed opportunity.
What was the other one? I had the Droid, the Motorola Droid. It was like it was the big boy. Like later on down the road, it had like it was really thin, and then it came up, and the camera bump was like across the back, kind of like the new Pixels.
Oh,
and it came up to it, and there was like a full camera bump against the back end of it. It was a really good phone. I did not have it very long, but I was really hard on that phone.
It makes me think of the Nexus phones, like the original like ones that had like the bar at the top that looks like the Pixels now.
I miss all of that. That was a big deal, man.
Smartphones rapidly grew too samey. Like there's nothing super crazy. Like the biggest thing I've seen that's made me excited for smartphones again is like the folding stuff. And right now it's too like not good. Way too young and not refined enough for me to actually be excited about.
Here you go. This was what I had. The X, the Droid X.
Droid
that
X.
looks really familiar too.
I mean, on what?
The Droid
Man,
X.
back when there's physical buttons.
What year?
I know, right?
What year did that come out?
What year?
I may have done Droid X.
2010. Dude, I love this. Android 2.1.
Those buttons look really familiar. I think I had that.
8 megapixel 720p.
Dude, it's got with Google on the back of it. Do you see that?
With Google.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This had an HDMI out. I forgot it. It had a micro HDMI out on the side of it.
What?
Yeah, dude.
Dude, those were just mystery ports to me.
For what?
I don't know.
Wow.
But that's nuts, isn't it?
Yeah, dude. I may have had this one. So that's 2010.
Had
the
a dedicated
Droid
camera
Razr
button.
came out in 2011, and then the 2012 was the Max. I'm pretty sure
cool.
I did.
I like that.
I did all of them.
So you were into the. You've always been a Droid guy, right?
Yeah.
What was so your first?
But I never I didn't think of name brands or anything. Like I didn't know there was a difference between phones. I just knew there was a difference in price. I was like, I just want a phone. I don't know.
I get that.
Like I didn't know anything about brands or Apple or anything like that.
What was dude, you know what I always wanted that I never got? I got to hold one once because I talked my dad into buying one. It was the old Palm Trio.
BlackBerry?
Palm.
Is that BlackBerry?
No, it's Palm.
Palm was a company?
Palm. Yeah, Palm Pilots.
Yeah.
Remember PDAs? They made a lot of PDAs.
Before phones.
Well, they
Pretty much
transitioned to become a phone.
Before smartphones,
company.
yeah.
Let's see here. Yeah, here's the 650. This was the bad boy. This was the one. This was like the holy grail. Like when you went into Verizon and you were gonna dad was getting a new phone or something. You're like, you got to get the Palm Trio because it was like $600, right?
I think I owned one of these because I got it at a yard sale for like $3.
You remember this guy?
Oh yeah, when phones looked like that.
I know.
My goodness. My dad had Blackberries. It does look like a Blackberry.
It does. It definitely does. Like
Yeah.
I think that was the whole. Which here's the 750. This was the last one they ever made, and they all ran Windows Mobile, and that was.
Yep.
They were baller.
Yeah, that was what I think my dad had that one because he used to work for the military, and that's what they would give them because they needed to have emails, they needed to see everything, and so he was in that realm that actually had to have something like that.
You remember the Palm Pre?
Palm, yes.
That was the last.
I don't know what it looks like.
That was the last phone that ever came out from Palm. I actually talked my mom into getting one back in the day. That was what we always. My parents would come to me and they'd be like, "What phone should I get?" Because they knew I watched all the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's right. It had conductive charging on it too, which was like a big deal back then.
Oh yeah.
Ran
the slide up one.
Ran WebOS.
People still wanted to have those physical keyboards. I don't think is there any phones today that has.
I mean, you not flagship stuff, but you can go to Walmart and buy phones like that.
Buy one that's
That's why I was kind of wondering, with the iPod situations, why didn't you just go on Amazon, spend $40 for an MP3 that has USB-C and Bluetooth?
Because it's an iPod.
It's about the journey too. I get it.
It's not because I want an MP3 player that has USB-C. It's because I know how to do soldering. I know how to work with electronics, and I'm fond of this thing. And I think it'd be cool to make one that does that.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's just like a
it's
fun
a good project.
It's a project. Yeah, it's a hobby.
Yeah,
it's a hobby.
Yeah, hobbies don't need to make sense.
You remember this?
No, I don't.
Yeah, you turned it into
buddy.
That's why my wife asked me.
That's right. We did. We turned it into a business. I forgot about that.
My wife, she said, because we work so much. My wife's like, would you work less if I got a job? And I was like, no. She's like, yeah, that's what I figured. Because, she was trying to offset it.
Yep.
And then I had the realization the other day, my sister was telling me about what what her job is and what she's doing and stuff like this. And I was just like, I had the realization, if we didn't run this company, I would start another company immediately. Because it's just what everything I think of is in the form of systems and stuff. Yeah. And it's I want to build brands, I want to design things, and it's just part of it. So it's it would happen regardless.
Tristan and I have already talked about what company 2 would be.
What would be? Do you want to spill the beans?
I don't think so. You never know, man.
The Florida one?
Gotta have a plan B.
The boating one?
No, we had talked kind of seriously about some stuff not that long ago about what you and I would do.
Okay. Yeah.
No, not that.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with AI. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Okay.
Oh goodness.
We're not gonna do that.
I wanted to. The most recent one was I wanted to go to Florida and go on the booze cruises and be the photographers that make $25 a photo.
I thought that was funny.
It's
Yeah,
like
I dig
they're
that.
killing it.
Yeah.
I get a nice tan
You drink.
for free. Be a bunch of
What was it?
cougars buying you drinks.
Oh my lord.
What was the other one we talked about?
We were talking about doing some sort of consulting work.
Oh yeah, I would love to do
we
that.
would come in and just do like organizational type stuff because
Yeah.
we've worked so much with different programs that it's like, trying to organize our own business that we would just come
share
in,
what you've learned.
Yeah, we would just come in and just like lay all the groundwork for how these systems and tools work together and then be like, peace out.
Yeah. No, I would love to do that because that was mostly the realization about like what I would want to do with another business is I just like the startup, and that's the like playing video games. There's a reason I make the same account like 50 times, and I'm like I redo it. I don't have one account where I just run it forever, and I guess it goes back to like the RuneScape thing. Is just I just like starting from scratch every once in a while. I like a fresh restart.
I get that.
It's fun.
And that is, I think that's the really nice thing about, Triflix in general, right? Because we have that ability to kind of do some of that stuff. I mean, we're not like restarting, but the thing is like there's so many, every time we get to that next plateau of like growth, we're like resetting essentially again.
Yeah.
And making the company work for that next level of growth. And so like that's been the place we've been at for the last, 6 months.
Do you feel that with each project too, as like kind of being a tiny little fresh start?
Yeah, and that's one of the appeals of what we do and why I haven't got burnt out yet is because we do different things every day. Like in our Meet the Team video, I kind of expressed that as in a very joking way. It's like, I don't know what I do, but really the sentiment is we do so many different things that there's no consistency in terms of the specifics of a project. There's like consistency in the types of projects. Like we do real estate, we do live stream, we do specific event coverage, but every event's different, every house is different, every live stream is different. It's like every single one of these things is so unique. Even with like the live stream, right? We have a client where we're doing live streams, but they keep changing the venue. It's like every single one's different, and you can get systems in place that will work for that specific one, but it's going to break. So you have to have a flexible system, and then the flexible system has to keep getting adapted. So that's why I haven't got bored doing this yet. Yeah. But the second like we're big enough, everything is just so automated. It's like, all right, let's sell.
There's always some problems that we already know how to solve. They just aren't exactly the same type of problems. So there's that creativity that goes into just making it work in the first place.
Yeah, and I think the sweet spot's like 80%. Like if there's 80% consistency and 20% new, then that's the sweet spot. Because any more than that, and like if every single thing is for every single day, for every single project, for every single everything is different, you would burn out way too quick.
For sure.
But if it was too consistent, you'd get bored.
And it's funny because this is one of the things that Tristan and I feel fundamentally different about. And it's just at like the base level, because I could get burnout too. I tend to also, it's like eventually I want to see something different and something needs to change. Yeah. Right. It's like if I stare at the same wall every day, eventually I'm going to have to put a different picture on it. Like I change my wallpapers constantly.
You do.
Yeah. I have my wallpaper changed like every day on my computer, and like I just look at it and you kind of feel like
refreshed.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, this is new. And I stare at it and I see different things. But there's that, we handle it very differently. I guess that's the thing. I don't know if it's a disagreement, but we handle that chaos in the moment differently. Like I want things to go smooth, and I think that's just the producer role in general in me. Yeah, and it's just
that's
like
a good thing.
I want the smoothest transaction from start to end in a project, and that's specifically smooth for the client facing. Like if there's chaos behind the scenes, I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? As long as like they don't see it or things get done in a timely manner, like as long as they're happy. And so it's like at some of these live streams, we get thrown a curveball every time because things change and people don't listen, and we're just like figuring out the process and figuring out personalities. Yeah. And I'm just like this on the last one we did. I was sitting there panicking about something for a minute because I just wanted it to work.
The audio was ducked.
Yeah. I had it turned off on the switcher
from testing.
Yeah. So I had it shut off, and everybody on the stream was like, "There's no audio.
Yeah.
There's no audio." And I was like looking around, and Tristan's just like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know." And then I turned on the audio, and again, you would have thought that I had murdered somebody's child. Like that's how stressed I was. That like I couldn't believe that I like forgot to turn on the audio, and I was like at that moment, like it was the first 5-10 minutes maybe, and I just it still haunts me to this day. Dude, I just want things to go well.
We all make mistakes.
I live for those moments. That's
I know he's over there, he's like, yes. Something's wrong. We'll fix it. I know we'll fix it.
Well, yeah, because it's like, all right, let's check levels. Levels are good. Levels are here. Why are like you like where? Okay, so
where's
they
the
made
disconnect?
You like go through the process of microphone to computer, and it's like, all right, when does the disconnect happen?
Right. And I'm like, there's too many red lights. That's why.
I'm trying to think what Jonah Hill was talking about Scorsese, because he's asked in an interview who's the best director of all time, and he's like, I've worked with so many greats, and like it hurts me to say it, you know, because you don't want to insult the other clients, essentially the other people that hire you, whatever. But he's like, by far Scorsese. And they're like, okay, so what about him makes him a good director? And he's like, his ability to problem solve on set, like within 10 seconds he knows what the problem, he's identified the problem and identified a solution, and then immediately makes the decision to move forward with it. And it's like,
that's awesome.
I'm nowhere near 10 seconds, but I love being in the middle of a fire of chaos, and it's just like, oh yeah, we got to fix that. All right, flip it. Or that doesn't matter. I don't care. I'll keep moving. And I think it was maybe him shooting with Clint Eastwood. Someone was talking about Clint Eastwood. It may have been Jonah Hill, but he was talking about how, no, it wasn't Jonah Hill. It was Matt Damon. Matt Damon was talking about shooting with Clint Eastwood.
Okay.
And he was saying that he is so rigorous in his shoot schedules and stuff because he wants the product done. He wants it done on time. He's like, you're an actor, you're a professional, you do it right, we move on. And you know, if the shot's bad, he'll redo it. But I remember Matt Damon talking about how there was a shot, he's like, I know I can do better. And then he goes up to Clint Eastwood. He's like, let's do that one more time. I know I can do it this way. And Clint Eastwood turns to him and says, you want to waste everybody's time? And then turns away and goes on to the next shot.
Oh, wow.
And it cracked me up, because it's like, I'm sure that when he's in that position, it sounds really harsh, but it's like, you do have a set of 150 people in that situation. It's like, it is literally a waste of time to reshoot that whenever you have a schedule, because you're going to have to push everybody back by a half hour. And then it's like, all right, now the food service is messed up. So then you got to pay catering. And then if you have a scheduled day shoot of like 13, I think it's 12 hours a day is the max. And then if you went over by a half hour, you have to pay everyone either overtime or you add another day on. So even though the better thing for the film final product may have been to just shoot that other shot one more time, from the director's perspective, he has to like take that out of consideration. He's like, what is the best thing for this project itself? And it depends, because James Cameron's, he makes the movie, he funds the movie, he can do whatever he wants, but it depends. So
I was gonna say, I like the James Cameron method, just shoot and take all the time you want, and then just spend a ton of money.
Yeah, that if that's the circumstance, then go for it. But
no, I think there's a fine line. There has to be a fine line, right? Because you could shoot something until you're blue in the face, because you're just like, it needs to be right, or we could have this, or we could do coverage, and it's like somebody was talking about it the other day on a podcast, and I don't remember who it was, and they were like, we don't do coverage.
You shouldn't.
And it was
coverage.
a director.
Yeah.
What is coverage?
Go ahead, director.
So coverage is like, if you ever see a movie with, a very directional camera, it's like the subject is shot with a purpose. That's not coverage. Coverage is whenever you just have 3 or 4 cameras thrown up in the room, and then an event is occurring, and you are just capturing as many angles, or you just let the camera roll for as long as you want, and there's just film. There's just tons of footage of it. And then later, you will decide which clips to use and which clips to keep. I don't like that for time reasons, mainly because we don't have time. But the problem with it is, your film doesn't have intention from the beginning, and you're hoping that coverage will save you in the post-production.
Right.
Sometimes coverage is done intentionally because you only have one chance for like a practical explosion. It's going to go off, so you set up 3 cameras with different exposure levels because maybe you don't know how bright it's going to be. So you set one real dark, one real middle, and one real high, and then you'll use the best of the 3. So that's like a practical application for why you would do it. But a lot of people rely on it where you would have just 3 or 4 cameras rolling of like a Need for Speed chase scene. Right. So you got 2 cars chasing, and you put like a GoPro on a wheel, and you throw a camera in the passenger seat, and you throw a camera on the trunk, and you just run all of them at the same time. Now, if it's like explosions are going off and the set's changing and evolving, then it makes sense to do that. But if you're just doing it for the sake of, we'll edit it real cool later. I think Jason Bourne does this a lot, where they throw a ton of cuts in it to cover it up.
A guy hopping over a fence, and you get like 20 different shots of him just climbing it, going over.
Yeah, and that's a case where the scene, in my opinion, the scene didn't have direction. My humble opinion, the scene didn't have a direction because the director probably would have known what he wanted the shot to look like before and would have just shot 4 shots.
Right.
And maybe in his mind he wanted 15 shots, but it seems like he shot coverage, and then in the post-production the editor decided, and then they got the stamp of approval. The other time you would use coverage that's really helpful would be like if you're doing talking heads, where like you have 2 people having a dialogue.
Yeah.
And then you'd have a camera over each person's shoulder, so you don't have to keep moving the camera back and forth in between every line. Or you can actually shoot the whole dialogue at the same time.
Should be a little more natural.
There's like a trope in animes where like there's 2 characters talking, and like the camera's like spinning around them, or like they're spinning.
Yeah.
And it's like there's just a dialogue going on. Nothing's really happening, but it's like a simple and easy thing to do in like CG.
Yeah.
It's like coverage.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's good times and bad times to use it, but the times that are good to use it are still the times where you're doing it intentionally, not you're like, I know I need these different exposures. I know I need these because it helps the actors perform better, not because I don't know what the direction of the film is and I want to edit it later. But I don't know. I've never been in a circumstance where that's needed.
Not yet. Okay. Let's talk about the tip for this week.
Tuesday tip.
Yeah, then we'll wrap.
Let me airdrop that to you real quick.
I did want to start this portion real fast with we really enjoy doing the weekly tips. It's something we've been really consistent at. Actually, Tristan and I were just talking about this the other day. We're like in the mid 20s now, so we've essentially done like half a year's worth because we do one a week.
Yep.
Oh man.
Yeah, and we've been pretty well consistent on this, and I'm pretty pumped on it. So if you guys see our stuff, it goes on Instagram, it goes on Facebook, it goes on YouTube. It's in the vertical format on all the platforms. So go check them out if you're specifically you like camera stuff or especially Apple related tips, especially iPhone stuff. We do a lot of that. So definitely go and check those out. Save them, keep them. I don't know. Comment on them. Also, the main reason why I'm mentioning this is because if you guys want to see us do anything in specific, shoot us a comment. Send us an email to contact@triflix.com. Right, that exists.
Contact@triflix.com.
Yeah, that is ours. Yep.
Yeah. So you can send us an email. We have a phone number on Google Maps. Like you can send us a text to that number and I'll get it. I would be more than happy to make some Tuesday tips based upon suggestions from you guys. So we get pretty good viewership from these, and we want to do more of that stuff. Tristan and I have talked about doing another segment that is very similar, that's branched off of that, specifically geared for professionals. Mm-hmm. So that way we can kind of, segment out the different stuff. So, and we can do them on different days, whatever that might be. Cause we have a different knowledge set in that space as well.
Yeah. We got a lot of mirrorless cameras around here.
Yeah.
And we could talk about them, but most people won't care.
Yeah. So we figured we brand it specifically to the demo. It'll help a lot. So anyways, if you have suggestions or you have stuff you want to see, or you see our stuff, comment on it, ask us questions. We're here to help. This is stuff that obviously we're a bunch of nerds and we play around with this stuff. Nerdy. And there are things in my family, like we talk, because when I switched to iPhone, everybody did, and there's like questions they ask, and it's the only reason I know is because I will sit there and just go through everything. I want to know, like, I'll go through the settings. I pay attention to what changes in the updates and when the updates come out. And David and I especially keep up on the iOS stuff. So again, we're here to help. We have a lot of fun with this and we love this. So we want to be able to share the knowledge. So this week we talked about AirDrop. If you're not familiar with that, it is the proprietary file image sharing wirelessly between Apple devices. It's kind of their feature. I don't know how long it's been out there. I think it's been out for a minute.
It's been quite, I know for a while, as soon as like iPhones started being more of a like prominent, like probably right when like apps were like added.
2011.
There you go. Right.
Yeah, so it's been out for over a decade. But it uses all of the stuff that's on your phone, your Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, but it just does it in a very proprietary way with Apple devices. So whether it's your iPad, your iPhone, or your MacBook, or your iMac, whatever it might be, it allows you to send these files. There's actually no limit on the file size.
Well, the size of the hard drive you're sending it to.
Correct.
True.
And we've used it for larger files, smaller files. It's not the slowest thing out there.
No, it's actually pretty fast.
It's not bad.
Our friend John Bundick, I had to get some video files from him for a project he was working on, and he tried his best to upload it, I think at his house, and then he went to his work and it wouldn't upload there. And I was like, you know what? Let's just meet up at a coffee shop. Just AirDrop it to me. I got it in like a minute.
Yeah.
It's fast.
It works really well. And I use it a lot. I will say, not going to lie, lately I've had a couple issues. I don't know.
Moving 50 gigabytes or smaller files?
Files in general.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. It feels like it was after I introduced the iPad into my ecosystem, and I feel like it's slowed for some odd reason. Like it searches for like I can tap on my device to send the file to it, but it has to think for a very long time before it actually starts sending the file. And I couldn't tell you what the issue is, nor have I had time to look it up. I could probably figure it out.
It just works.
90% of the time it
usually does.
You know what else just works?
What?
Sidecar. Even if you don't have it set up, it still works. We should talk about that for another tip video.
Okay.
Sidecar is a good tip.
We opened up my new laptop, my 16-inch, and it automatically connected to my iMac.
I was in the middle of working on it, getting it set up with all of his programs. We restored it from a backup, which is super easy. And I was getting on there, making sure everything is installed properly. And all of a sudden, the keyboard stops working and my mouse disappears.
And then my screen flickered. But we didn't make the connection that anything changed at the same time for us. Because his computer, the Mac wasn't even plugged into anything, I don't think, at the time. You just had it on the desktop.
I had it plugged into like the docking station.
Okay.
But
So he logged into my account on that computer so we could get all the apps installed. And for whatever reason, Apple just works. And they immediately activated Sidecar, and my mouse was able to jump over between the iMac and my laptop. However, you cannot drag and drop files between the two. You can't move it from one
files.
Page.
We did Windows. We tried Windows.
We couldn't move a window
didn't try
either.
Files.
Oh yeah. Well, maybe.
Okay, hold on a second. I think you're getting them mixed up. So it's continuity. It's not Sidecar.
Yeah, it's continuity.
Thank you.
Oh.
So they're two different things. I know that's very confusing.
Yes.
Oh.
So continuity is like the newer thing that is baked into the OS. So that's what works on my iPad when I set it down and then the mouse goes over to it. That's continuity.
Not Sidecar.
No. So Sidecar is when you actually it wirelessly uses your other display to extend your display.
Yeah,
that's what I thought it was doing.
Or iPad as a second screen.
Yeah, and it works across. I think it's specifically iPad, not gonna lie. Continuity is just for as like iMac.
It's a KVM. You're sharing a Mac and a mouse and a keyboard between two displays.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct. Now you're supposed to be able to drag files. You can't drag Windows, but you can drag files between the two.
We didn't try
tried
that
Windows.
Yeah.
But
it's literally, like you said, yes, it's a KVM switch. It's literally just a way to be able to interact with two devices with one mouse and keyboard.
Yeah. So continuity kicked in when I was trying to use it.
That makes sense.
I thought I was like, oh man, like there's some weird bug with this brand new laptop, so I forced it to shut down.
Yeah.
And then I booted it back up, and then it happened again. And like Tristan was like, "Are you doing something over there? Because I think your screen blinked."
Yeah.
And I was like, I looked at that. I looked at this. I was like, I brought the laptop over. I was like, move your mouse to the other side of the screen.
My mouse just kept going.
It went over there, and that's how we. There was nothing that showed up on the screen that it was doing it.
So it's up in the taskbar.
Yeah.
So top right hand corner, you'll see it. What it shows is essentially a rectangle with a dotted line in between the two of it with a mouse on one side.
Yeah.
And that's continuity. So continuity also covers other things. So continuity is technically how my iPhone can use its camera as a webcam for my laptop. Oh. Continuity is like a suite of things that just makes all of it work together.
Yeah, maybe
that's really cool. That's funny.
Maybe one of the things
very cool though. I mean, to think that like, you come in, you sit down, and you put your laptop next to your iMac if you're going to, and you're just your mouse just goes over. Yeah. Which I'm assuming it works both ways.
For what?
Yeah.
Well, I would think you'd probably go MacBook to iMac as
well
I think
as
it just
iMac
to
which
MacBook.
One. I think what happened was it just depends on which computer you smash your mouse into the side of, and I think he just accidentally did it.
I do that a lot,
and then that's well, you want to go to your that's the side of the screen you want your MacBook to be.
That's why I'm worried about the arc. The little side. We'll talk about that later. But like I always go too far, and it's going to slide out, and then I'll come back. I'll go over and slide.
It's not perfect, but and this is continuity is fairly new.
Yes.
This has been kind of like this OS mostly. Mm-hmm. Maybe a little bit at the end of the last.
They announced it a while back, but it took them a while.
I'm not on Ventura yet, though.
It took them a while for
sure.
Your
new one is going to be.
Yeah, for sure. But no, so it's just, again, the ecosystem, it's like all these things come in and work together. And that's, one of the AirDrop plays into that as well. Just being able to move things in between.
Apple's so lame though about it. Cause it's like, why can't I use my iMac as an external display? Why? Why?
The thing is, and we've had this conversation 1,000 times on the podcast. Yes, it all boils down to the companies. Yes, they make cool products, but like it's still a company. They still want to make money.
Because it used to be
so much e-waste.
There used to be HDMI ports on the back of it, and I think and that's how they were able to do it, because it was like a chip.
Yeah,
that was like easy for HDMI to do, but now it's all USB-C, and I don't think there's a.
It's just so lame, because it's like, honestly, even the 2014 iMacs have better displays than you can buy for even $900 right now on the market. In terms of, if you want a IPS, doesn't even have to be glossy, but you just want a monitor that looks nice, that's 5K with good colors, accurate. It's like, if you want that, it's so expensive, and people just have them at their home. Give it to their mom, give it to their grandma. Sits on the desk, nobody uses it.
I think Apple should make a non-XDR display for like just the person at home that wants a second display.
That's the studio display
for $1,500.
Is that what that is?
Yes,
it's $1,500.
The
specs are pretty close.
We were talking about this. Like the specs are essentially the same as the old school iMacs. I'm like, if the aspect ratio didn't look different, it's the same thing.
I guess similar to the LG.
Studio makes me think like that's marketed with the Mac Studio.
It's correct.
Which is still targeted towards creators, so my brain doesn't really.
It's targeted towards, if you wanted a Mac Mini and a nice screen, you would do that.
No,
like a studio.
No, it's like targeted towards the people who wanted a 27-inch iMac, like what Tristan has setting on his desk. Yeah. That's the new. Yeah. That's the new system. Like you get a Mac Studio and a studio display, and then now you have an iMac, because they're not going to make a 27.
But the cost difference is like, for the old school, if you wanted the iMac, it was like $2,500. So now if you want it, it's $1,500 for the monitor. Then you spend $1,000 on the Mac Mini or whatever, and then it's the same cost. And it's kind of nice because now you have a monitor that's separate. But I don't know, it's just really lame of them that they won't let you use old stuff, considering continuity can work and all these things.
We talked about this. It's a lot of it's silly, but again, they want you to buy the new product.
So I don't like it.
I get it.
I want Steve Jobs back.
Yeah, come back, Steve Jobs.
Take him out of the grave. Why is he still there?
Can't you? They have enough money. They could bring him back.
Steve Jobs is down. He's down in his grave. He's like, I don't want to be dead. Fix it.
You know, I'm surprised they haven't like turned him to like a voice for Siri.
No, dude. His
That's
family
just
would
bad taste.
Yeah, his family would destroy them.
I'm just surprised nobody figured out how to upload his consciousness to a
Do
Mac
a Walt
Mini
Disney
or something.
thing. Save his head for later. Freeze it.
They like keep putting him on like later models of things. Like at first he was on like an iPod, and then they upgrade him to like a Mac Mini, and then he's on like iMacs.
Dude, I've done some like the role play stuff with ChatGPT where it's like, I am this, you are this. Let's like have a conversation as such. I wonder if you could. I guarantee you could get him to be Steve Jobs. Be like,
that'd be funny.
Give me Steve Jobs' opinion on ways to improve X. Just as a teaser. I'm just curious.
Tell it to introduce a new iDevice that nobody's anticipated.
I'm gonna finish up a couple things. David, can you pull up ChatGPT and see if you can get it to do that? But do like the like a podcast outro.
Yeah.
In the style of Steve Jobs or something.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, so that was our weekly tip, guys. I know we got a little bit off topic as usual, but like AirDrop's the thing. Go watch it. It's cool. So we're going to continue to make these each week. Tristan has taken over the editing position at the moment. Daniel used to do all that stuff, so Tristan's helping to fill that gap until Nathan gets up and running. I did really enjoy this week's tip, so you got to go check it out. I loved you did a great job like adding in like the logo for AirDrop and then using the sound. So like when you guys hear that sound, like as soon as you tap the AirDrop button, the device that you're sending to makes that little doo-doo-doo-doo.
Yeah.
And I liked that it was homework as well. So
yeah, well, we all know what that folder is.
Yes. Homework.
Homework. Oh my goodness.
You got something pulled up, David?
Do a podcast outro in the style of Steve Jobs?
Yeah.
And that, my friends, brings us to the end of yet another incredible podcast. As a friend once said, your work is going to fill a large part of your life. The only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. I hope this podcast has provided you with valuable insights, inspired you to do great work, and perhaps even challenged your perspectives. Remember to stay hungry, stay foolish, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Thank you for joining us today, and until next time, think different.